When you think of the Arcstrider, there are probably a few builds that immediately pop into your head, specifically those revolving around the Arc Hunter's powerful melee. But what if I told you there was a way to create one of, if not the most lethal grenade build in the game that can jolt wave after wave of incoming enemies, create endless orbs of power, spam grenades faster than any other build, heal through damage in the most difficult activities, and even compete with some of the best DPS options out there if built and used correctly? Don't believe me? Then make sure you pay attention. You're not going to want to miss out on this one. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about a build centered around the often forgotten exotic gauntlets, Shinobu's Vow. Now, I know what you're already thinking, skip grenades are not very powerful themselves, but pay attention as we turn them into a lethal tool that will power you through anything thrown at you. With their intrinsic perk, New Tricks, Shinobu's Vow improves your skip grenade. Think of the tracking from the exotic rocket launcher Truth, but in grenade form, as well as adding a 5th projectile to each grenade thrown. In addition, you gain a 2nd skip grenade, and you gain grenade energy as each individual skip projectile hits an enemy. Skip grenades themselves are one of the weaker grenade options on Arc subclasses, but with Shinobu's Vow, you're able to constantly spam them, offering utility in the form of generating orbs of power for both ability and super energy, jolting targets, which stuns overload champions and creating webs of chain lightning, and reloading weapons with the perk Demolitionist, which can be especially important when fighting tankier enemies. Let's quickly go over the subclass, aspects, and fragments that crank this build up to 11. For the super, I recommend the Gathering Storm for a quick one-off damage super to give you some offensive capabilities in damage phases or for locking down an area. For your dodge, we're going to go with the Gambler's Dodge, which refunds your melee when dodging your enemies, and pairing it with the Combination Blow melee, which can stack up to 3 times, increasing in damage while also healing you on melee defeats. Lastly, and to no one's surprise, this build centers around the skip grenade. For aspects, you'll want Lethal Current and Flow State. With Lethal Current, after dodging, you'll gain increased melee range and jolt whatever you punch. Additionally, damaging any already jolted target with your melee will also blind them. And with Flow State, defeating a jolted target will make you amplified. While you're amped, you get your dodge back faster, gain damage resistance while dodging, and increased reload speed. For fragments, you're going to want Spark of Resistance for an extra 25% damage resistance when near 3 or more enemies. Spark of Amplitude, which creates an orb of power when rapidly defeating enemies while amplified. This has a 10-second cooldown between uses, so be sure to keep that in mind. Spark of Shock, which will cause your skip grenade to jolt targets. This is key for using your skip grenades to clear waves of enemies and stun overload champions. And lastly, Spark of Ions, which will create an ionic trace when defeating a jolted target. Like Spark of Amplitude, this has a 10-second cooldown in between activations. As for the mods in this build, they focus heavily on refunding your grenade energy to pair with the intrinsic energy returns you'll get with Shinobu's Vow. On your helmet, running Ashes to Assets will allow you to gain super energy on grenade defeats as you constantly spam skip grenades to clear waves of enemies. I also choose to run an Arc Siphon to pair with my Arc weapons, but you can swap this out for a Siphon of your choice. Heavy-handed and firepower will allow you to create non-stop orbs of power as you constantly loop your skip grenades and combination blow melee, giving you armor charges to feed your grenade kickstart. Now, the kickstart mod will consume your armor charges only when you throw your 2nd grenade charge, giving you a small bump in grenade energy depending on how many stacks of armor charges you have. On your chest piece, feel free to slot whatever resist mod you want based on the activity you're running, though if you're going to be getting up close and personal with combination blow, you can consider running melee damage resistance. On your legs, Innervation will give you more grenade energy when scooping up the plethora of orbs of power you're creating, and Recuperation will give you small bursts of health as you scoop up those orbs as well. The best part about that is you can combine it with the health on melee defeats with combination blow and the orb created from heavy-handed to double up on healing when punching enemies to death. And the reworked elemental charge will give you armor charges as you continuously collect ionic traces. Lastly, on your class item, Distribution and Bomber will refund ability energy, and the new mod Powerful Attraction will collect orbs nearby you as you dodge, again giving you armor charges for your kickstart. Because your melee and dodge cycle each other thanks to Gambler's Dodge and Combination Blow, there's zero need to spec into either mobility, which I know is strange for your typical hunter build, or strength. Instead, focus on maxing out your resilience and discipline, with the remainder of your stats preferably going into recovery and intellect. This build by itself is already powerful enough to withstand a test of time over the course of changing seasons. However, in Season 21, it gets boosted to new heights thanks to the slew of seasonal mods focused around Arc subclasses. You want to make sure you're using the following mods in Season 21 to get the most out of this build while they're available. Amped Up, your maximum amplified duration is increased to 20 seconds. Electric Armor, while you're amplified, you gain 30% damage resistance. Thunderous Retort, while at critical health or amplified, your super will deal 30% increased damage. Shock and Awe, while amplified, arc kills, which can be weapon or ability kills. Summon a burst of lightning, which deals damage and applies jolt in a small area of effect around the defeated enemy. And lastly, the most important seasonal mod for this build, Lightning Strikes Twice, which gives you a massive 130% increase to grenade recharge rate for 5 seconds after using your grenade, which can constantly be refreshed by getting arc kills from any source. Moving on to weapons, you're going to want to pair this build with weapons that have the perk Demolitionist on them for 2 reasons. For starters, enemy kills with those weapons will give you grenade energy, further allowing you to continuously spam your skip grenades. And secondly, Demolitionist will reload your current weapon when you throw a grenade. Now there's a slight cooldown in uses, So you won't be able to non-stop reload with grenades, but there are fun combos you can pull off, like swapping back and forth between demo weapons to bridge the time gap between the internal cooldown, or even throwing your super to give the cooldown the time it needs to reset. This alone can help you expend more ammo and damage phases during boss fights, or just allow you to put more damage on a tankier target faster. All in all, I've been using this Arcstrider build a lot since season 20, and even then it felt incredibly powerful, especially in enemy dense areas and against tougher targets, and now it's better than ever. If you're looking to make your Arcstrider gameplay more than just dodge, punch, repeat, and add some of the best weapon damage of the game to your toolkit, I highly recommend giving this incredibly fun and powerful build a try. That's it for today's video. Again, if you enjoyed it or learned anything new, then a like is greatly appreciated, as well as subscribing to the channel for future Destiny 2 content. And let me know down in the comment section if you've used this build or something similar and what you think of it. That's it for me. I'm done. I'm out, and I'll see y'all in the next one.